Hey everybody, Tony D with a Screenwriter's Take. Little Joan is asleep on the couch. So let's review the first episode of Wednesday, directed by Tim Burton. Smash like and subscribe. Thank you for smash liking and subscribing. Check out my books, links in the description. Comedy horror in South Jersey. It's the Pineys, books 1 through 10. Available at Amazon.com. Don't forget, Kindle Unlimited is free. I know something of this kind of show, comedy horror. So my bar is pretty high, let me say from the outset, for this kind of project. As always, I'm going to give you a non-spoiler review and then a spoiler review. Okay, so first the non-spoiler review is the show is definitely of high quality. You got a great cast. People said Jenna Ortega is great, and she really is. She's really good. Riveting. You follow her every step of the way, but there's a great supporting cast as well. The only problem, with the setup in the show, it's just too much. There are too many elements here. I get it. He's setting up a series, and they're trying to set up, but there's too many elements, and they're unneeded. They're really unneeded. Now, when I looked in the trailer, I had some qualms about the turning this into Buffy the Vampire Slayer or Harry Potter, and that's what it basically is. I mean, look, it's kind of like an Addams Family version of Harry Potter, and to me that's disappointing because it didn't need to be this way. It makes the Addams Family characters less unique. And there was no call for it. There's such a high quality here. You didn't need all this extra stuff. You didn't need all this extra melodrama. You just didn't need it. This show rolls out. You can see, at least I can see all the switches. Oh, here's the character that's going to be doing this, and the character that's going to be that. Guess where this is going? And it's mystery box all day long. There's like 7 mystery boxes in this that they're setting up for the rest of the series. I get it. I understand. Like, mystery boxes, the concept is not necessarily a bad thing, but when you jam this many out in the first episode, I didn't need it. I just didn't need it. You've got a great cast. Why are you doing this? Why not just focus on Wednesday going to a new school? That's all I needed. That's all I needed. Wednesday is an engaging enough character. You just didn't need it. And the problem with all these other, mapping out Wednesday's emotions and trying to explain everything, you keep undermining what was cool about Wednesday to begin with. What was cool about Wednesday was she kept alluding to things she had done in the past, but you never saw them. You never really saw them. She would always say things that made her sound like a complete and utter psycho. And maybe it's unfair to compare it to the TV show or the movies, but those were great. Is this show great? It's look, some people are going to like it, and I can see why. There's a lot of high quality here. Even the supporting characters that I think are completely unnecessary, they're good. I mean, it's a good cast. It's a good young cast. Tim Burton is directing in top form here. This is something he's good at. But at the same time, I feel like it's too much. I think the show in this episode anyway, and now maybe it relaxes in the next episode. I don't know, but there's just too many elements here, and it feels very much like it's paced like Buffy the Vampire Slayer, Riverdale, all these shows that basically are the same thing. Young cast falling in love, but also there's terrible things happening too. Will the lovers ever get together? Will the terrible thing be found? Except this time it's Addams Family stuff mixed in. One of the concepts in the Addams Family was they were just weird, right? What was Gomez? Was he a wizard? Was he? He was just a weird guy who liked weird things. Same thing with Morticia. She wasn't a witch. Maybe sort of like she definitely, exuded that vibe, but like they never would say specifically what anybody was. Lurch, what was he? Was he a Frankenstein monster? Never really said. What was Fester? So, exploring that, who cares? That's not why we're tuning in. We're tuning in to hear the one-liners. All right, let's get into this. So would I watch it, more of it? Maybe. I don't know. I already got tired of the soap opera portions of it. I like Jenna Ortega. I like when she delivers the Wednesday lines. They're great. But the moment they get off of that, the moment they get into, what's going to happen next? It's like, come on, man. You don't need all this stuff. You don't need all this stuff. You really don't. You really don't. Too much supernatural stuff. That's weird to say in the Addams Family, right? But again, that just takes focus away from her. She's supposed to be the oddball. They all right, I got to get into the spoilers. So, how would I rate it? Man, it's really tough because it is of such high quality. I wouldn't just dismiss it as don't watch it. Definitely not. Because if you like this kind of stuff, you don't mind all the mystery boxes, and you're a fan of the Addams Family, you might like it. And Christina Ricci's character is pretty good. They didn't totally give her nothing to do, so that was nice. I just wish she was Wednesday again. Anyhow, so I guess I would say, since I'm such on the fence about it, I would say you should probably give it a chance if you like this kind of thing. But just be warned, there's a lot of elements like I'm saying, soap opera, Buffy the Vampire Slayer, Hogwarts, all that kind of stuff's in there. If that stuff annoys you and it doesn't fit with an Addams Family like it does me, then you're probably going to go, nah. All right, so let's get into the spoilers. So first up is, Wednesday. I like the setup with Wednesday saving Pugsley. I don't like their new take on Pugsley because he seems not like he was. To me, Pugsley was always sort of like pretty fearless on his own. In this, they make him weak. I don't think that's a good look for Pugsley. I think that's a change in his character that was totally unnecessary. He was always, to me, like a mini Uncle Fester. He was like his uncle, right? He was just he was bald and fat and kind of like, hee. And like Wednesday, he was kind of a psycho, kind of a crazy kid. Wednesday had the lines and they work better with her because she's a little girl initially, but I don't like their new take on Pugsley. Gomez and Morticia are good. I like them. The concept of Nevermore is a good one. That they go to the school where Morticia and Gomez met. That's great tie-in. Gives it some history. The problem with it, of course, is all the clicks. Way too many clicks. Way too much info. Trying to sort through all this. Okay, you're going to add Gorgons, werewolves, and vampires in the Addams Family? No, that just doesn't work for me. And they could have just had normal people. Right? Just normal people. That's all we needed. Normal people. They didn't have to all have superpowers and this weird take of like, they're all the outcasts. What kind of school is that? It doesn't make any sense. It doesn't make any sense. Vampires are here. It just doesn't make any sense. Okay? To me, a better thing would have been, it's a private school out in the middle of nowhere. The Addams Family are rich, so they send Wednesday there because she's not working out in the other school. The other thing is, too, one of the things, at least in the other versions of the Addams family were almost oblivious to how they impacted other people, right? So they might come out with, I don't know, you might have a scene where they bring out, hey kitty, and people think it's a cat, and then a lion comes out and it scares everybody and they go running away. And then what did the Addams family do? Well, Gomez would wave goodbye like, oh, I guess you're in a hurry, I'll see you next time. Like, they wouldn't always totally be tuned in that they actually had done anything wrong. And that's sort of missing from this. They're kind of trying to make it more like we're going to explain everything. So, like, to me, they have this scene where Catherine Zeta-Jones is like talking to Wednesday, trying to suss out why she's being sent to Nevermore, and she doesn't want to go. And I get that from a dramatic standpoint, the soap opera standpoint. I guess that, but it's totally unnecessary, because you could have easily made that, well, my darling, the school just doesn't want you anymore because, you're too smart and too rambunctious or whatever. Like they almost don't know why she's been kicked out of school again. And, it still is, although I like the piranha scene better now that I saw it, it's still not quite what the Addams family would do. It's, to show it is part of the problem. You didn't need to show it. You could have implied what she did, not seen it, because showing the bullies, especially two-dimensional bullies like in this show, and they are two-dimensional, just doesn't work. It just doesn't work. It's never worked. Back in the 80s, when bullies were a thing and they would put them in TV shows and movies, they'd be, ha ha ha, we're the bullies, we're going to bully you. Never worked. It was always stupid, two-dimensional characters. Now, could you have characters that pick on Pugsley in a way where they're not two-dimensional bullies? Yeah, you can. Like, for instance, you could say that the Addams family are rich, and, I don't know, they're picking on Pugsley because the kids are not rich and they resent him for his fabulous wealth. Or maybe Pugsley does something to him, to the other guys, and he sort of deserves something, but like Wednesday retaliates anyway, and Pugsley doesn't tell her that, oh yeah, by the way, I don't know, I put a bunch of rats in their locker or whatever. But so I didn't really need to see the whole opening scene at all. And her roommate is great, but that she's a werewolf, totally unnecessary. Her personality shines through, right? Her personality, again, in an Addams family fashion, it should have been that she had a roommate that was even more oblivious than her parents. Like, someone, and this is a great thing in comedy, someone who is so intent on being liked that no matter what Wednesday does, no matter what she says, she always likes Wednesday. She always interprets whatever Wednesday says, no matter how grim, no matter how threatening, she always interprets it in the lightest positive way. And that could be that character, and it's almost there, except then they add the werewolf stuff, and it's just like, okay, we're going to do this whole teenage werewolf girl thing. We're going to have real conversations between the werewolf and Wednesday. Oh yeah, I'm really going to connect to those. And you could say, well, it's not for you. True. My friend's daughter really liked this show, so maybe she connects to it. I don't know. I thought it was dopey. I thought it would be funner if it was just, not this, oh, we got to try to connect emotionally to our audience. I'm not sure how anybody can. I would dispute whether or not someone could connect with Wednesday while at the same time acknowledge that she's a psychopath and her roommate's a werewolf. And that's what they call her in the show, very casually. Oh yeah, she's a psychopath. That's undermining her whole character. To just say, well, it's a school for outcasts, so we put the psychopaths there too. Like, that's not what they would do. That's not a thing. It makes zero sense. it would be more effective if it was just Wednesday with a normal girl who is, for whatever reason, not that she's a werewolf, but for whatever reason, something's in her that she is completely oblivious no matter what Wednesday does, no matter what evil scheme she comes up with, no matter how she keeps threatening her. She just doesn't, it just doesn't register. It doesn't go in. That to me would be a funnier character, and Wednesday could talk about how her roommate essentially is the worst, like tortures her, even though she's the nicest girl who ever lived. You've got the woman from Game of Thrones as the school marm, or school dean, I guess. She's great, and they set her up as being a friend of Morticia, so that's good history. I like that. Nothing weird about her yet, but I suspect there's going to be something very weird about her down the road because the school is just full of a bunch of weirdos. I wouldn't have gone that way. It would have been better for her to be more of a foil for Wednesday, and it looks like in later episodes she becomes more of a foil for her, more of a, oh, Wednesday, you're ruining the school. But the end of this show where and Wednesday is saving everybody left and right, which I get it. She's the main character. We want to root for Wednesday, and it's great or whatever. But the scene in the coffee shop with the bullies, it's dumb. It's so forced. We didn't need it. You could have come up with something better if you hadn't wasted so much time setting up gorgons and friggin' sirens and vampires. You could have actually had characters with meaning that you could set up for later. And you didn't have to show every single freaking character in this ensemble cast that's going to be appearing. So they're teeing up a character who saves Wednesday's life, who she helped before. Great, you got a little history there. He's just there. I guess he's going to be a potential love interest for her, but it felt really forced and really unnecessary. The only character that felt kind of natural was the coffee shop kid, the son of the sheriff, and even that was like a little off, because it's like, how old is that kid? He can drive. How old is Wednesday in this show that he's going to drive her away? To a train so she can run away from home. So this is a problem because if he can drive, he's got to be at least 16, 17. I thought early he could possibly be 16, maybe 17. How old is Wednesday in this show? It's a bit of a problem. Now, of course, he never gets to do it, and I didn't expect him to, but still. It seemed like an unrealistic setup for an escape. And this whole idea that Wednesday just wants to escape. Why? Doesn't make any sense. Now, one could argue that, well, this is Wednesday when she's older and she's a little different. She's a teenager and she's rebelling. Okay. I can buy into that. But to jam it all in the first episode, I mean, if you hadn't jam this full of vampires and werewolves and sirens and gorgons, I would have been like, okay, I can see why Wednesday wants to escape this school. It's full of a bunch of normal rich kids, and the Addams family hate normies, but it's not full of normies. It's full of monsters. And to me, Wednesday Addams would be like, oh, this school's full of monsters? Oh, there's a table full of vampires? Sign me up. How can I be a vampire? Like, that's the attitude of Wednesday Addams. She would embrace all that stuff. But it's not about monsters. Addams Family's really wasn't about monsters. It was about being weird. The only actual monster in the show really was Thing in the cast, right? All the other characters were kind of like, they could have been human. And there was a occasional monster here and there, like in the old TV show, and I think there was a couple in the movie. I don't remember, but the core characters, They would all pass for human except for Thing. So it was like they're almost near monsters. All these other characters, they're all monsters, openly, and everybody knows about it. So it's a weird world that you're laying out here, and that is undermining Wednesday. She's not the weirdest thing in this TV show. It's a good thing that Jenna Ortega is as good as she is, or else it would overwhelm this character. But Wednesday would be 1,000 times better if she was just going up against normies. And you wouldn't have to make her quite so powerful and capable and girl boss. Oh man, the girl boss here is strong. There's a lot of girl boss stuff going on. Totally unnecessary. And I don't really see the whole romance angle going on with her yet. But, I mean, I guess it's going to happen. Because that's the way this show's heading. You know. You had plenty of time to set all that up in later episodes. Why do we need to see every cast member in the first episode? Why? Because this is a TV show and everybody's got to get screen time. If this is an ensemble cast, the ensemble I want to see are the freaking Addams family, not these other characters I never heard of. But that's just me. You know, the monster, now she's got this whole mystery with a monster, and she has to figure out where the monster is. Nobody believes her. I mean, this is going to go over several episodes, and it, again, makes no sense. Makes zero sense. The casualness by which the sheriff deals with the hiker who died and was torn to pieces doesn't make any sense. I mean, does he know, if he knows there are vampires and werewolves there, yeah, I guess so. I guess it's obvious one of them must have got loose out of Nevermore and killed somebody. I would imagine that would happen all the time if they're actual vampires and werewolves. So I don't even know what kind of world we live in, but it's not the world that the Addams family lived in. They lived in a world where that stuff, they were the only ones with access to it. Not the rest of the world, not the average normies in Jericho. Who the hell are they? This is the problem I have with the show. It's trying to jam in elements of Harry Potter, Buffy the Vampire Slayer, and soap opera. The soap opera stuff is the unforgivable stuff. Like the rest of the stuff I could forgive if this show was funny, on point. And it's not. If you're going to do an Addams family and they meet a werewolf, they should be a werewolf, right? Her roommate should be a werewolf. She should eat raw meat out of a bowl and drink blood or whatever, and it should be gross. But, you know, they're trying to pass off, they're so busy trying to juggle all this soap opera stuff. And you could say, okay, it's for kids. All right. I guess. I don't know. I think it's nonsense. I mean, I used to watch shows when I was a kid, and I never said, oh man, I need some more relationships in this. I would just be like, it's either funny or exciting or not. It's just too many shows wrapped in one. And I think as this show progresses, they're going to get further and further away from the idea that Wednesday is a psychopath, and I shouldn't even say that, because she's not. The reason the Addams Family was so great as a comic strip and as a show was because they would always just walk up to the line, right? So you had Gomez, who, you know, would have dark circles under his eye and this crazy look on his face all the time, and they would just do these wild things, and you know. And they would talk about grave humor and make all these puns. And it was like a whole family of crypt keepers, kind of. So Wednesday is not exuding that. You know, they're trying to give us teen angst and teen drama in high school, along with Addams Family stuff. I could do without it. I could just do without it. There's so many shows. So many shows. Oh, there's going to be teen drama. Who the F cares? You know, if you're a kid who likes these teen dramas, why would you pick the Wednesday show on top of the ones that are more grounded in reality? The ones that have more teen drama and no monsters. Why are you going to pick this show over Teen Wolf? It's the same damn show. It's the same damn show. This one teases at being super funny. It's kind of funny. Jenna Ortega's great. Could be a lot funnier though. Could be way more funny if you just stuck to the comedy and didn't try to like tug at our feelings to make this a narrative that had to drive forward with a mystery and a mystery box after a mystery box. God, after the fifth mystery box, I'm like, are you kidding me? I mean, they actually have the shot of the sheriff looking at a beautiful mind board trying to piece together all the mystery. It's like, is this Scooby-Doo or is this the Addams Family? Could have been a fun, light comedy. I think the show being an hour an episode definitely weighed in on like, well, we're going to have to do something bigger than just have Wednesday making these puns all the time. I disagree. I think with enough clever writing, you could have just delved into regular characters and Wednesday interacting with them, and she's the oddball, you know? And you still could have set up this thing with the mother, because Morticia was an oddball, but in a different way, right? Or she could discover that her mother was just like her, going to Nevermore at first, and then she changed because she fell in love with Gomez. And they're going to show the cool thing is they are going to show flashbacks of what happened in Nevermore, because the other mystery box, of course, is Gomez, I think he's a murderer. And of course he's not, because he's a nice guy and he's the main character and blah, 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 blah. But, you know, that she feels that she needs to clear her good father's name or whatever. The weirdest thing in this episode, too, and again, it feels very rushed because of things like this, is she meets the guy in the coffee shop, who turns out to be the son of the sheriff. He's not allowed to save Wednesday, of course, from the bullies, which was a huge mistake, because that would have given them a reason they could sort of come together. Like, I understand. You don't want to make Wednesday totally weak, and that's part of her character, but she could have overestimated herself against, say, 3 male opponents, but not in this day and age. So he does nothing while she beats up all 3 of them, and that was too much. That was over the top for me. But the whole scene with then the sheriff comes in, like, Wednesday should have done something to save the coffee guy from his dad. Like maybe he has a rep for fighting, and then, you know, Wednesday takes the blame for beating up the 3 guys somehow, even though it's kind of unrealistic, because maybe she got punched in the face too, or better yet, she could do something totally psycho, right? So the father comes in, and let's say you rewrite the scene. The coffee kid helps Wednesday in the fight, because Wednesday's just a little overwhelmed, and she's very tiny. So he helps her. Maybe she doesn't want it. Maybe she's even a little mad at him. And then when the sheriff comes in, he is furious at his son for getting in another fight. Maybe he's got a rep for having fights. And the kid says, well, I was just helping Wednesday. And then Wednesday, like, smashes her face against something before the sheriff takes a look at her, gives herself a black eye to say, look, see, I was fighting the 3 guys by myself. Something like that. See, that would be like a psycho move, like Wednesday hurts herself. Because she's kind of like a good, more interesting version of a Harley Quinn, right? Like a total psycho. Although Harley, different story, but you could do something like that, where Wednesday does something extreme, something an Addams would do in order to save Coffee Shop Boy. But they can't even get that far down the road with that relationship yet because it's the first episode. And they want this like, oh, will she date this? Will she date coffee shop boy? Or will she date the other boy? And maybe, I will say that Rowan getting killed at the end, that was a bit of a surprise because that looked to be up like they were teeing him up to be in the running for Wednesday's heart. But I don't want to see a show where it's about which boy will Wednesday date. I don't want to see that. But that's just me. I mean, maybe it's you. And I don't think that's what the Addams Family stuff is about. If you're going to do next generation stuff, I mean, you could even have a weirdo in the school. Not quite as weird as the Addams Family, but weird enough that Wednesday is attracted to him and doesn't quite understand why. You know, like just a kid who's like, you know, you can, but you need a bunch of normal kids to make it work. You know, they're going to be revealing superpowers on all these kids. It's dopey. It's dopey. I don't even know the kid. There's one kid who's in the school who seems to be normal too. I don't know what his deal is. And then, you know, the one kid, Rowan, he has telekinetic powers. Like, okay, he just has it. That's why he's at the school. It's not possible for somebody to have those powers and be totally normal and hide them and go to school, go to a regular school. The whole show kind of doesn't make any sense, and that's my problem with it. You know, it's not poorly made. It's got a great cast. It has some elements in there, but I mean, it would have been easy, again, to make this show work. You know, to make this show work. And I think it would have started with just making it all normies. Everybody's a normie except for Wednesday. Maybe you add in a weird kid. Maybe he becomes weird during the course of the series, and Wednesday becomes increasingly more attracted to him as he, I don't know, goes insane. Right? Maybe a kid becomes not a vampire, but a werewolf during the course of the series. Like he's the only one. That would be more unique than this. This is so obvious. Oh, it's the cliques. I mean, the scene where the girl introduces all the cliques, that's where I was like, nah. I was with you. Up until that point, I was like, yeah, I could see this show. I could see why people liked it. And then when you introduced the clique, I was like, oh, really? That's ham-fisted. It reminded me of that stupid Disney show. I forget what it's called. It's like called Zombies or something, where it's a high school of zombies, werewolves, vampires, and I think they had aliens in the fourth season or something. It's just like this. It's just like this, except that show's wackier and not nearly as well written or produced and acted, but this show's better than that in terms of the quality. But I'm just disappointed. It's not what I want, but I mean, I'm not the audience for it. Maybe you'll like it. I'm probably not going to watch any more episodes. You know, I just wish they had stuck to the characters. I hate when they reinterpret things. And I feel like this is a reinterpretation, so unnecessary. Too many elements, especially in the first episode. Hell, we could even just, I don't know, introduce the concept of Nevermore and never even have her go to the school yet, and then maybe slowly work her into all the monsters, I guess. But no, I just totally against the monsters. Totally against it. I'm against the girl boss stuff. It's just too many elements. And it really smacks of what's wrong with a lot of stuff coming out of Hollywood. The idea that you have to just jam pack it so full of elements that you can't have any time to think about things, process anything, or process how these characters interact. And then the idea is, well, you've watched everything, it's over, so we already got your money, get out of the theater. I mean, this is a TV show, so it's a little different. I think the strength of the show, though, is in the cast. Is in the cast and the direction. Writing, though, yeah, it's insufferable to me. It's insufferable that they did this to the character. So I really like this character, and I really wanted to like this show. I want this show to be good. Man, just so unnecessary. And again, you know, I said in my trailer, I would have liked to have seen her in the regular school, where she is an oddball. and she can continue to be an oddball and torture all the students. But this is Tim Burton's interpretation, I guess. Feels like he didn't write it though. It feels like it's written by a group, and some of the ones in that group are pulling him in this not scary direction. I think it could have been, even if you were going to go in the direction like, okay, all the kids are oddballs, why do vampires and werewolves at all? Why not just make them all weird, all uniquely weird, like the Addams family? Then we could say, oh, okay, this is a normal school. We don't need a crazy mystery about people being eaten by a monster. You could have someone killed. You could have just normal people killing people. That's happened. All right, I guess that's it for me. So again, if you don't mind the soap opera Hogwarts Buffy stuff, I think you'll like this. If you're more of an Addams Family purist like myself, yeah, you heard my complaints. So you've been warned. Wednesday, appearing on Netflix. And that's it for me, Tony D and Little Joan. Check us out on Odysee, Bitchute, and Rumble. And I'll see you next time.